I'm here with Karinna. Karinna is part of our clinical advisory board. She is also a dental assistant, so in your shoes as well. She's here to kind of talk through a couple things that we want to share with everyone and hope that anybody else that is doing things like her, that is either a dental assistant, maybe an office manager or a hygienist, anyone that's kind of our point of contact for the marketing agency. She's been there, she's in your shoes, she understands, so maybe she could help kind of shed some light from your perspective on what's going on and how she prioritizes her day. She obviously has a balance of doing a full-time job, but then the doctors have asked her to be our point of contact and get us some of the things that we need. So I'm going to ask her a few questions. She's going to share with you, what she does on her end, and hopefully that helps. So Karinna, I guess tell us a little bit, a brief overview of the responsibilities that you hold at the practice as it relates to the assisting first.
Yeah, so not only am I the assistant, we have two doctors at our practice. Each doctor has two assistants, so there is a little assistance, no pun intended, there to help me out when I do have stuff to get done. But my primary role is assisting the doctor. At our office, we're expected to keep up on sterilization. We don't have sterilization techs or anything like that. So, cleaning your room, getting it set up for the next patient, making sure everything is getting sterilized and is ready to go. That's a big part of my job as well. So, when I'm not seeing a patient, when I'm not working on this, normally I'm in the sterilization area. I also do all of the OSHA compliance for my practice. So I, do the monthly meetings and all that stuff to make sure we're compliant with everything OSHA wise. So that's a
Awesome.
lot.
So doctors have asked you, there's two doctors in the practice. I know they had asked you and kind of made you our point of contact. So I guess share with everyone what that means specifically. What are you doing with our team? What type of things are you doing on a weekly or a monthly basis?
Yeah, so working with the MDA team is great. Most of the stuff I do is computer based. So sending monthly content, and what that kind of means is more so our social media. We have a Facebook page, we have an Instagram page, we have a website, and it's working with their social media team, developing content for those. So it might be taking pictures of the staff, dressed up in something, or we participate with a local Christmas charity, taking pictures of staff donating things and trying to encourage that. Trying to make the staff seem less doctor's office scaredness and more welcoming family place, more like real people and not just, somebody who's going to get in your mouth and get stuff done. So as far as that, it's a lot of picture taking, emailing back and forth. But they get back to you right away. So it's great when I'm still trying to do other stuff because I have an answer almost immediately. The other thing that is one of my duties as the point of contact is handling the lead forms, making sure I get them off the email and get them kind of organized, which I think we're going to talk about later, in the way that works so I can get them done.
Awesome. Are you doing, so we ask for a monthly email of all new patients. You also send that to us, correct?
Yeah. So when I do the monthly marketing, at the end of a month, a couple months after, they ask you to fill out a sheet about your lead reports and the results of said lead reports. And at that point, they also ask for current email lists, which is another way we try to get the patients involved in the practice along with the Facebook and the Instagram. So they ask for those and I get them over to them too. I forget about that one.
Yeah. And are you the one reviewing our monthly content too? So like our posts, our blogs and emails, you're looking at that too to approve it?
Yes.
Okay. So I guess tell everyone how do you prioritize that? Obviously your job is full time. This does take time. I would imagine it's not a full 40 hours. We obviously don't want it to be that. But how do you prioritize? Do you set specific time aside?
So what works great, since we do have the office where I have another assistant to take some of the load off, essentially. If she has a longer procedure, like maybe a crown prep or a root canal, or we do implants at our office, if she's doing one of those types of things, it really helps because I can sit and have, almost an hour of uninterrupted basically time to work on things. That is great. We are open Fridays at our office, but we run skeleton crew, so we only have half of the hygienist, one doctor, one person up front, sometimes two. So Fridays really help too, because normally we just run one column and then emergencies. So unless I'm seeing an emergency, I have the 5-ish hours we're open on Fridays to work on this, which really helps with the leads. And specifically, it helps with the leads, honestly. That's 9 times out of 10. If I'm here on a Friday and I'm not seeing a patient, I'm on the phone.
Awesome. So, I guess talk to me a little bit about, we recognize as a marketing agency, you all are wearing multiple hats. It doesn't matter if our point of contact is the treatment coordinator, the office manager, the assistant, or someone at the front desk. We realize you guys are wearing many different hats, and it's hard, right? You're juggling a lot. But I guess from your perspective, what's the value? Like, what motivates you to say, you know what? I know this is going to be helpful, or it's not going to be helpful. I know I need to do it. What motivates you to be able to set that time aside and think it's important?
A big motivator is doing the monthly lead report at the end where, we type in and say, we got a hold of this person. This is what happened. This is the revenue generated. This was the treatment plan. It puts it into perspective when you're sitting there going through the lead reports or doing this type of thing, and it seems like it's sometimes never going to end because you have 40 lead reports in front of you. It kind of puts it in perspective. You're like, oh wow, yeah, I remember seeing that person. And it kind of helps too sometimes, because when I see the patient, I don't always realize, oh, I talked to them on the phone, they came from this lead report. So it is cool. It kind of gives you a minute to reflect on it. And that's kind of valuable to me, because the lead report, it lets you see, hey, I've actually been doing this. I haven't, I felt like the whole month has gone by and I didn't accomplish much. But then you look at it and you're like, oh wow, I did all of this. I guess I did something. um, Another thing I enjoy is a lot of patients not so much interact online with the Facebook post commenting, but they'll come in and I'll overhear them because nobody knows I'm, the face behind Facebook, so to speak. They come in and they're like, oh, I seen, the post about the hygienist they're seeing that day, her son's Halloween costume or something. And they're like, that's great, blah, blah, blah. And they love to talk about it. And it really helps. And that's probably one of my more favorite parts is, when doctor goes on a vacation, we post something, or the doctor I work with, his wedding anniversary is this coming month. And so we're getting the post ready for that right now. And that one's always a favorite because everybody comes in, oh, your wife's dress was so beautiful. Because I don't have any wedding pictures from them in my room. So they don't really see them anymore. And so they're like, oh, that was great. And then he loves to talk about they eloped on the west coast of the United States, and he loves to talk about it. So
That's
it's a
awesome.
good, it's a good bonding thing, I guess.
Yeah, it really humanizes you guys. And, we hear that
Exactly.
often. We hear, practices will tell us like, oh, we have to be on social media. I don't really love social media, not just one piece of the marketing, but it's a big public piece of it. You have your website that's public, you have your reviews that we're doing that are public, we have our ads, all of this is online and public, but social media is seen. And I think a lot of practices lose sight of the fact that people are looking, whether you
Yeah.
realize it or not. And when we post that custom content, it just deepens your relationship with them.
It makes you, and it does help too. We're allowed to have photos in our rooms, like family photos. So that helps a lot too, especially because they make the connection from, oh, I seen your post, you were in this post on Facebook, and then I see your pictures up on your wall. So it definitely humanizes us, which is extremely helpful when the dentist is probably one of the most disliked types of routine doctors that you go to.
That is true.
Like personally, I don't like going to my medical doctor, but I guess maybe if I didn't work here, I wouldn't like the dentist as much as I do. But
that is an accurate statement. So
yeah,
what's what is one piece of advice that you would give another team member that's like, man, I gotta send them these photos, and I gotta take time out to do their lead reports, and I gotta send them this email list. I mean, again, we know it can be much. It's not a ton of time, but we know that we're asking more than their regular work duties. I guess, what is one piece of advice that you would give someone?
And this is probably one of the most overused pieces of advice. Make a list for yourself. Because I am obviously wear a couple different hats with like OSHA compliance and all of that stuff in the training. So if it's we have our OSHA training meetings the first Thursday of the month. If it's the first Wednesday of the month, I am not going to work on lead reports. I'm not going to work on, emailing back and forth. So make a list for yourself, prioritize how I know it's the corniest thing ever and they tell you to do it in college, but make a list. It helps because then you can put in perspective. Like me, if I have a lot on my plate and I have, lead reports in front of me, I'm like, I am going to do 5 lead reports and then I'm going to, get the stuff ready for the meeting next week. And then I am going to do this. And then I can cross stuff off. It makes me feel better about myself. Like I'm actually accomplishing something. So a list is the greatest advice I have. The other best thing I would say is don't be afraid to reach out to MDA and say, I'm feeling a little overwhelmed. I'm trying to get it done. I will get it done. Contact or communication is so important, honestly. Instead of just leaving people in the dark. And I've learned it even more in my like personal life as wedding planning. Communication is important. So if you tell them like, yeah, I know we have a lot of lead reports coming in right now. I'm planning to work on them a couple days a week. It keeps not only them in the loop, but it also keeps you accountable because they're great. If you say, oh yeah, I'm going to get you, these posts for Facebook by Friday and it's Thursday, they might send you a reminder like, hey, here's your reminder. Looking forward to seeing your pictures tomorrow. Or if it's, Tuesday of the next week and you didn't get them, just checking up to make sure. My doctor, not the one I work with, the other doctor here, is you can ask him for something and you are not going to get it for at least 3 weeks. So I've learned to go to his wife. That's what I've learned. But just, the follow up with it is important.
I love that. Lists are important, and it kind of gets everything organized, and you can kind of see it at a quick glance. But then I couldn't agree more about communication, because not only does it keep us in the loop, hold you accountable, but it's also sets expectations. And I mean, I would like to think we're pretty reasonable people. If you tell us, listen, I have a lot going on right now. I know I promised this to you.
Yeah.
I'll try and get it next week. That way we can set, because there's a lot of things that we do behind the scenes that we're creating. It's not just a social media post. Sometimes we're turning that into a YouTube video. Potentially we're getting it on the Google My Business page. We could be doing an email blast. And if we know that, then we can say, okay, we'll put a hold on it on our end. We know that we're not going to be getting it for another week. So it just sets expectation, and the good communication between the two, just it'll get us all on the same page.
It does. And it's something I obviously always have valued it to a point, but now with wedding planning and I'm like waiting for this person to get back to me and I'm like, just let me know what's going on.
Right.
It stresses me out now. And I'm like, I think this means I'm like a real adult now when I get stressed.
That's right. You've entered.
Yes. I'm like, I don't know how to stress over something that's not school anymore. Or now I know how to stress over something that's not school.
That's right. A whole new level of stress.
It is.
Well, I appreciate it, Karinna. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Our viewers are going to find this extremely valuable, and thank you so much for sharing your perspective.
Of course.
Sometimes we like this not to be one-sided. We realize there's a whole other side to this that we don't see, so it's important. That's why we have the clinical advisory board for people like you to tell us, hey, this is realistic, this isn't realistic, or this is sometimes what we're doing behind the scenes. So it helps us. And we, again, communication, it goes back to that, and that way we aren't just seeing what's happening at the marketing level. We're seeing what's going on behind the scenes. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Yes, of course. Thank you.